And welcome once again, everyone. Their protest forced Hosni Mubarak out of power just about a year ago now. And now Egyptian anger boiling over once again at the military-led government that replaced him. Crowds out in Cairo for a second day, blaming the ruling military council for Wednesday's deadly football stadium riot and for a general lack of security. The health ministry says more than 1,400 people have been injured in the protests so far. And in Suez, at least 2 have died. Medical sources say 2 protesters were shot dead when police started using live ammunition to clear the crowds. The Egyptian Interior Ministry is now virtually under siege. And our Ivan Watson joins us now to talk about all of this from Cairo. Of course, this all goes back to the football stadium, a tragedy that happened. Ivan, fingers of blame being pointed in many directions. What's the latest there after Friday prayers?
Well, the anger and the grief and the shock from that deadly evening in the Port Said Stadium spilling out into the streets, as you mentioned, of several Egyptian cities. Here in Tahrir Square, you can hear the ambulances. You may be able to see them over my shoulder. The demonstration in the square itself is quite peaceful, but just a few blocks away, demonstrators have been clashing with riot police in front of the Interior Ministry now into the second day, with at least 1 person killed there. We don't have the cause yet. Also, a military officer crushed by a police vehicle by accident during the melee there. Tear gas, a lot of birdshot being fired, and we know that there's been violence in Suez as well. We saw very similar scenes around the Ministry of Interior, Michael, last November. The difference here is many of these demonstrators are carrying the flags of the 2 prominent football teams here in Cairo, Al Ahly and Zamalek. And the reason is they're very angry about what happened in that soccer stadium Wednesday night when 79 people at least were killed. The leader of the Al Ahly fans committee told me earlier this morning that he blames the security forces because they closed the gates that would have allowed his colleagues to escape the stadium when they were attacked by the rival team's fans, and then many of them were crushed. Take a listen.
They got trapped inside, and people traumatized were trying to run, and they don't realize that the gate is closed at the other side. So they stampeded over each other, and people were stepping over each other's heads and killing each other. So those who were not killed by the Masri fans were killed by our fans trying to get away.
Michael, this is not the first time the security forces and the ruling military council have been the target of angry protests and clashes here in Cairo. The difference now, football is mixing in with this combustible mix of politics, and the 2 biggest rivals in Cairo, Zamalek and Al Ahly, are marching together in opposition to the ruling generals. A remarkable development. Michael.
Yeah, it certainly is. And of course, still the conspiracy theories abound. What is the latest on the actual investigation? I mean, even the Muslim Brotherhood saying invisible planning behind this. I think they put it unjustified massacre. What's the latest on all of these theories and whether the truth is going to shake out at some point?
Well, the narratives are very conflicting, lots of conspiracy theories, and some people accusing the military or perhaps elements of the former Mubarak regime of deliberately planting instigators in the stadium Wednesday night. That's been denied by Egyptian officials. The governor of Port Said has resigned after those bloody events, and several top police officials have been questioned in connection with that. Nobody really has gotten to the bottom of whether or not this was a case of incompetence possibly, or some broader conspiracy, or merely the rivalry between 2 groups of fans spiraling tragically out of control.
Ivan, got to ask you to take a bit of a right turn here. There are also word in your patch there about some kidnappings in the Sinai.
That's right. The U.S. Embassy here in Cairo has just confirmed to me, Michael, that in fact, 2 tourists that were reported kidnapped earlier today in southern Sinai are American citizens, are women. They were near the St. Catherine Monastery when Egyptian security forces say unknown Bedouin tribesmen pulled them off a bus with their tour guide. Egyptian authorities say they know the location of them and they're in negotiations right now. The Bedouins apparently demanding the release of some of their tribesmen and asking for them to be retried in connection with previous crimes. Michael.
Ivan, thanks for the update there. Ivan Watson in Cairo.